Are you stuck? How about unhappy? Join Alena Chapman, author, mentor, and life coach for Magical Moments with Alena, as she challenges you to get out of the doldrum and start living your life to the fullest. Alena will help you take control of your life and push you to do the things you never thought you'd do. So get ready to take back your power and celebrate life with Magical Moments featuring Alena Chapman.
Welcome to Magical Moments for that ease and betterment in your life. And I'm your host, Alena Chapman. And I have a very cool magical moment for you. You know, this is one thing that we don't talk about a lot, but one of the laws of reality, if you're talking about the Tao, or you're talking about Hinduism or Tibetan, or you're even talking about the Kabbalah, is balance. Heck, mindfulness talks about it. Every oracle card in the world has balance, right? Everything is balance. Why? Because we don't have it. And this is the thing. It's the law of laws. It's the key to all harmony in life. It's the giving and the receiving to ourselves and others, to something higher and ourselves again. All living things in nature live by balance. And thus, the world and the universe all operate on the concept of having balance. We humans, we like to upset balance. And guess what? The result is we always suffer. We are always having that to-do list. I remember when my kids were younger, and there was this pressure, this incredible pressure to have your kid in as many busy things as possible. My gosh, those kids didn't even get to breathe. They're in sports, they're in band, they're in not only sports at school, but they're in sports in some special traveling something or other. They are all over the board. And you, as the mom, if you're working full time, you're also rushing to their games because, of course, you have to be at every game. You're rushing at every game and every activity, everything. And then you're asked to host and do things for brownies for this and organizing this. And it's do. When do you stop? When do you have balance? This is the thing, folks. When we get into that cycle of constantly doing, our mind doesn't know how to slow down. And when we do have to slow down for something, we're lost. We are lost. We can't be with ourselves. That's what we saw when we were all stuck in our houses. People were going crazy with themselves, with their families, with their spouse, because they had to stop doing. They broke the rule and the law of balance in their lives. When we live with balance, we are good for ourselves and we're good for others. When we are out of balance, that's when we become a victim to desire, material things, meeting other people's needs. We become obsessive, stressed, consuming, addictive, and then we cause pain to ourselves and others. This week, I want you to work on this one concept: gaining balance, having some quiet time, spending quantity and quality time with a family that is calm, bringing back maybe having dinner together. Oh my gosh, what a concept. Just having a movie night and relaxing and talking, or a game night. That's the best thing. When my boys come home, we always have a game night. It's so much fun. Enjoying life, taking a bubble bath. These are the things, getting balance and giving and receiving. And with that, and I hope you enjoy that magical nugget, Gary Stuart is our guest today. He's a 4-time #1 international best-selling author, speaker, and personal development expert for over 45 years. He has been globally featured on the Dr. Nandi show, and I pray I said that correctly, for ABC TV, with also Brian Gallo at NBC Palm Springs. He leads retreats and workshops globally with Jill Fisher. His latest is Raising Your Harmonious Child. That's a good one. His best-selling book is Quantum Activation, Transforming Obstacles into Opportunities for Change, with Amit Goswami, PhD, and Carl Blake. His 2020 book is Healing Human History, Constellation Wisdom for the 21st Century. We can always use that. He's also a best-selling author of AI Ancestral Intelligence, Constellation Insight from Beyond, and the AI Guide Journal. His other constellation healing books include Master Your Universe, How to Direct a Star in Your Own Life, and Many Hearts, One Soul. And with that, I'd like to bring on Gary Stuart. Hi, Gary.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. I didn't know I was being interviewed by Buddha today. That's fantastic.
Yes, you are. No.
Yes,
no. Well, I am a spiritual curator, so I do a lot. I do know a lot about a lot of different things. And I also am known as a soul nurturer and healer. So anyway, but then this is my show. So excellent. Welcome.
Good. Thank you so much. Beautiful introduction.
Well, I'm so glad you enjoyed it. Okay, so and I just love reading your bio. My gosh, incredible. So I want to ask you, since you seem to be the constellation master, I want to talk to you a little bit about in this time. We're going through a lot, Gary. We really are. I was just talking to my producer here, and we're talking about inflation. Now, on top of everything else that's going on, we've got inflation coming. People are confused, fed up.
Yeah.
So with that, you wrote a wonderful book about the constellation healing. How can this help us at this time?
Well, you opened the show speaking about balance. So if you really looked at balance, we're out of balance.
Totally.
I don't know if you remember a few years ago, I think it was the Hopi name of the movie, Kianascatsi, and it's a world out of balance. They just did it through images and pictures with Native American sayings of how they see how out of balance.
Yeah.
Not to blame white people, so to speak, but from an Indian perspective, they saw us pale-faces being out of balance.
But we're not blaming the white man.
No, we're not. No, we're not going to go there. But I mean, from a Native American perspective, seeing what we were creating is them being in balance and harmony with nature.
Yeah, and they do see that, and it's true.
In general, regardless of race, feels like he owns nature and it's at his disposal. I see it as an expression of misogyny about raping Mother Earth for profit, and which is an extension of hatred of the female projected on Mother Earth. Talk about being out of balance.
Yeah. Isn't it true? It is, I think, speaking of the Native American, they do have the view that why we are suffering so many ills right now is because we have gotten out of the balance, the balance of the universal law of balance, living with balance with nature, balance with our own lives, balance with the whole universe. We are the conquerors, we feel. We came here to conquer, right?
Right.
And we are, and most religions also teach that we are not, we used to be taught that we were the stewards of this earth, but somehow it changed to that we need to rape it.
Capitalism changed that.
It did, didn't it?
It's patriarchal and male-dominated, hence the misogyny aspect of even genders being out of balance. I mean, what we do to the earth is a microcosm what we do to females on earth. And,
I know.
My next book actually is about misogyny. So how
interesting.
Yeah. It affects males and females in a negative way globally. And that means the genders are out of balance.
define misogyny for people, would you? Because
misogyny is actually hatred of the feminine, and the only thing worse than a woman would be a gay man or a gay woman, just because it's basically hatred of the feminine. And if you look at how we treat Mother Earth, that's a macrocosm of those beliefs projected onto Earth, which shows how out of balance we are.
And really look at that, if you, it's not only the feminine as far as, it's more that they have to, we want to conquer the feminine, but it's not because of the so-called feminine because sexually. It's the feminine whole way of being on a spiritual level, too, the intuitiveness. And when I was growing up, they were always making fun that I was using my intuitive. Oh, that's that women intuition.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. And if you look at Mother Nature, going back to your opening today, Mother Nature's all about balance.
Yes.
There's another thing I'd like to add to that is cause and effect. I just did a good new blog, which is on my website, about cause and effect.
I love cause and effect.
It's really cause and effect. Balance is in the middle. It's like the triangle of a seesaw is balance, but cause and effect are both ends of that seesaw.
Yeah.
And whether you're up or you're down, and part of the fun, I guess, of being in imbalance is having fun on a seesaw. But if you really look at it, we're either way up or way
the pendulum always swings. Right. The seesaw is always teetering. Yep. Isn't it funny? It is. Yeah. It is. It's interesting to me because we really do not value the psyche. We don't, or the spiritual, or the guidance we get from spiritual. Sure, in our world, when you and I talk, yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But you go into the office and say, today I am feeling,
right.
or I got this download, and they'll look at you like you are on crack.
Right, then you'll be feeling unemployed.
So how do people take... We're scared of our spirituality. We're scared of the feminine side.
Mm-hmm.
And yet the feminine side is what's going to get this is for the listeners. I am not saying that all of a sudden we all have to be feminine, but each one of us, everyone, whether you're a man, a woman, something, what you want to be, or you're gay, or what, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Every living thing has a male and a female side inside of it. It's the yang and the yin.
Mm-hmm.
So but we're we're on a yang overload. That's what we're talking about.
Exactly.
That's what's not balanced.
Exactly. Well, the beautiful thing about balance is we have to experience imbalance to rediscover balance. So there is a yin and yang, pun intended, for balance, and that's why we won't find it unless we're so imbalanced. That actually is guiding us back to it.
Yes.
So I always try to see, especially the book I wrote with Amit Goswami, we speak about that a lot on quantum activation. He feels, he's a quantum physicist. He was the quantum physicist consultant of What the Bleep movie back in the 90s.
Yes.
And he became quite famous with that. And he feels that we're out of balance. What he calls, we've traded spirituality for materialism.
Yes.
And he feels that man's going, historically on the wrong path because mankind as a whole doesn't quite think yet that the idea comes before the matter.
Yeah.
And so the thought, whatever we create, comes from a thought before it gets manifested in matter. And that thought, of course, is more spiritual, energetic, more feminine, more intuitive. Like we're denying that whole part for material, male-dominated, science, nuts and bolts, bricks and mortar.
And trusting everything outside of ourselves to fill the void inside.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And that shows, again, how the genders are out of balance. And it ties into the whole belief system of capitalism, and I'm not anti-capitalism at all, but you can have balance in the financial system as well, and it doesn't have to be rape and pillage. That's why there are some good points to sustainability. As well, and then people are going to use that to their advantage to hurt other people, which is the negative side to sustainability. They're not thinking of the real whole. It's just, well, who can make money with this new this new fad of
who
Not
can
that
make
it's a bad
money
thing at all.
And I
but
think
it's
most
all
people
about
are in fear right now, and fear cuts off the intuitive side right away.
Right, absolutely.
It's funny. I think from everything I have gathered and know innately to myself, it always has to happen on a spiritual level before it can be in the material world.
Absolutely.
And the great innovators know that. Einstein knew that. Steve Jobs knew that. The people who have developed these computers to the highest level knew that. They all know that it has to happen. And it's not just your creative streak. It's actually a spiritual level. You tap into a spiritual level to gain these incredible innovations. Thing is, we don't teach that. We don't teach that in schools. We don't teach that with the masses. So it's only a select few that get to have that intuitive side. So how do we get it to the masses? How do we get them to not just... we value critical thinking in our schools. Destroying, tearing down, arguing for against. How do we switch this tide? Because right now we're with a bunch of people who have been... you've seen it in the news. Right now we've got so many people who are the creators of things, big monopolies, that they actually are tapped into that creative source. They're creating massively.
Right.
But everybody else is left in the wake, confused, not knowing what to do, and depending on them to solve the problem.
Yes, yeah. One thing I have a philosophical question about AI. Who's going to program soul into the computer? Is that even programmable?
Yeah. Don't give them that question, please.
I know, exactly. Of course, now they want to use AI for the war machine with, robotic soldiers that kill people.
Oh, God.
We've
got human robots now,
Yeah, exactly.
For everything. And people are liking the human robots better than the people.
I know, exactly. Yeah.
It's so scary. People are in love. I meet these guys who have Alexa. Every single guy I know has Alexa. And they call it their girlfriend. What is happening?
State of affairs. See, it put blow-up dolls out of business.
See, we're so out of balance. We got to get back.
I know.
So,
well, if you really look at it, though, where I do constellation work is not about astrology, the stars. It's about dynamics and family systems.
Yes.
And if you really look, what is really out of balance is we got to get back to Mother.
Yeah.
Metaphorically, of course, Mother Earth and her balance, but our own mothers.
Yeah.
And if anyone's going to teach intuitive or other aspects of life, it's the female. And if we get back to respecting the feminine, then the mother energy will come back. And that's really what's going to save humanity. And I think men just take it as far as they can go because they want to play God. They want to be bigger than the creator. Hence, that's why everything that's happening on Earth is for them to have dominion like they're the creators of life. The irony, my next book that's coming out on misogyny is called Venus Envy, Busting the Male Misogyny Myth. So it should be out in January.
That's cool.
And we got to get back to that feminine to rediscover the balance on the planet. What a lot of people don't know is when a woman gets pregnant, the gender of the baby is X. And the only thing that determines the male, and I'm not diminishing males with this isn't to hurt, the males of our species, is that a progesterone surge at the 6th or 8th week externalizes the genitalia. So you could say that all human beings, and that goes for all animals as well, start off as X. And the Y, it either stays XX or external rather than internal genitalia, which is female, the XX, but the Y is just a progesterone surge that externalizes the genitalia at the 6th week of pregnancy. That's why they don't know the gender of the child till about the 8th week of pregnancy.
That is very cool to know.
So the template for life is feminine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yet males, when I look at little boys in the grocery store tugging at their mother's apron kind of in a grocery store, I said, how do these little boys grow up to be woman haters? So what is in our culture is the bigger question, that those little needy, dependent boys would turn into hating the feminine. So what is it about the cultural mindset that demands that? That's the bigger question.
Oh, it's funny. I used to teach in a course that was here in the Midwest called Right Relations, and I used to help people who were either getting divorced or weren't getting along as parents, and it was a program put on by a very incredible Jeannie Schaub, very ahead of her time psychiatrist, and we were in the court systems. I was in a lot of the court systems here in Indiana, and what I found is that almost every divorce that was happening, most, not all, but most, was because the man was out of touch with himself.
Right. Yeah.
He didn't have any feminine in him. It was all yang. And yang is to do, and man up, do not feel, do not allow it to happen. And they push it down so far that, but the thing is, that's great for John Wayne. Right. If anybody remembers John Wayne, and I just aged myself somewhere, but it's not so good for a relationship.
Right, exactly.
And it's not so good for your own ideas and your to reach a higher level in your own spirituality and creativity.
Absolutely. But see, the system, and I don't mean to attack capitalism in a way. The system is designed for that. Like the woman has her role to be now both parents have to work to survive. But in the olden days, the woman would stay home, nurture the children, have food for the husband. The husband will work hard to make the money to afford the house, and it just, the gender roles were very separate. But I think capitalism itself is really based on that model, which is way out of date for what humans need. And that shows you just that the divorce rate alone is proof that how out of balance we are.
Yeah, we are very out of balance.
Which isn't geared for emotional, or that male may be addicted to porn at work or whatever. He may be a drug addict because he can't cope with the stresses that are put on him, so he turns to other things, which that in turn will destroy the family as well. So Bert Hellinger's, he died actually 2 years ago, just the other day. He had a metaphor that we're always seeking mothers. So whether we're male or female, we leave our nest, so to speak, of our parents. We grow up, and then we're looking for a job to sustain us, to give us food and nurturing and shelter, which is actually trying to find mother, metaphorically, male and females alike. Then we form a relationship with somebody, say it's a job that doesn't serve our needs, we're not making enough money, we're working like a dog. Then we leave the world of the father, which is kind of the male world of how we gain our financial stuff that supports mother, and then we go into the world of the father to find a new job that gives us the money and respect that we need to create a new mother situation.
Now,
and it's like undulation our whole life between masculine and feminine.
It's very interesting. Well, I think a lot of men have that too. But the thing is, I want to make it very clear for our listeners, we're not saying that we're pushing women back into the home, especially me, who's been not exactly on that side of the issue.
Right, exactly.
But when we're looking for the mother, well, what is the mother? The mother is the nurturer, the lover, the insightful one, the one who knows us and loves us unconditionally. It is the one that is brushing off the knee and saying, you're going to be fine, and I love you for all your creativity. It's also the side, the mother is that person who loves your creative ideas, loves what you're making. That is the side we want.
Yes, absolutely.
And so that can happen in any form. Huh?
It's not to give it more weight. It's not frivolous. It's very important.
Oh no, it's very big, and you can. But that's the side that is lacking because we're too darn busy. We have to turn it around. So unfortunately, gosh, I'm going to have you on again. You're so much fun. But You really are. I had a good time on the show. But how can people get hold of you?
Yeah, well, my website's a great way to see more about the work that I do. My books are on there and different blogs that I do. So it would be really simple, www.GaryStuartHealing, Old English, Stuart, healing.com. There's tons of information. And my latest blog is about cause and effect, which will be perfect with the balance theme, that's for sure, because cause and effect create balance or out of balance, depending on the cause and the effect.
We could have a whole show on that because there's so many concepts of cause and effect, the law of cause and effect. I'd love to discuss those with you. Well, and for everyone out there, we've got Hello Soul coming out on Soul Manifesto. That book is how do you start to connect to that feminine side, that yin, that inner divine. How do you do it? And I love that's my book. I'll tell you, I have to. It's what really cool. I don't tell you what to do. I never do. It doesn't do you any good. You won't hear me.
Right.
However, if you read, it's my journey. So you'll find yourself laughing. Yes, you will laugh, and you will kind of cry once or twice because there was some sad points. But on top of that, I give ways that I've learned from some of the top shamans how to really connect with my soul and how it's changed my life to have that balance and understand the cause and effect. And my gosh, to have pure joy in my days, every day. So, hello, Soul. And check out Soul Manifesto, folks. We got so many cool things happening. And I would love to see you there, especially at our discussion group. Gary, it has been so awesome to have you on. And for everyone, spirit is love. And when we open ourselves up to the divineness inside of ourselves, we calm down, we take a breath. Oh my gosh, spirit comes right to us. Namaste, everyone.
This has been Magical Moments with Alena, featuring Alena Chapman. If you missed an episode, download it now on iTunes, Spotify, TuneIn, CastBox, Deezer, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, or your favorite podcast platform. Learn more online at soulmanifesto.com.
Podcasts by Federated Media.